What if I told you there are people living past 100, not because of magic or lucky genes, but because of small habits they repeat every single day? And the wild part? Science has spent decades trying to crack this code. And what they found isn't some futuristic treatment or expensive pill. It's things so simple you could start doing them today. In this video, we're going to look at the habits with the strongest scientific backing for extending your life. But I'm not going to hand you the same tired list of eat healthy, sleep well, exercise more. What I actually want to do is show you what's happening inside your body when you apply these habits. The real mechanisms, the fascinating studies, the stuff most people never hear about. Because here's the thing most longevity content gets wrong. For a long time, science focused on adding more years to your life. But the conversation has shifted. It's no longer just about reaching 90 or 100. It's about getting there with energy, mobility, a sharp mind, and actually enjoying it. Longevity isn't just measured in time anymore, it's measured in quality. And that depends, more than most people realize, on what you do today. So let's get into it. 3 pillars, real science. And one of them is so underestimated it might genuinely surprise you. Let's start with food. And not in the way you've heard before. You've probably heard the phrase, "you are what you eat" 1,000 times. But why? What does what you put in your mouth today have to do with how fast your body ages over the next 30 years? Here's the key. Your body is in constant renewal. Every second, you're producing proteins, fats, sugars. Your DNA is being copied. Cells divide. Others die. Waste builds up. It never stops. And to replenish everything you burn through, you need raw materials. Think of your body like a house. Use quality bricks, the structure stays solid. Use cheap bricks, cracks appear, and the whole thing comes down sooner. And it's not just bricks you need, you also need wiring, plumbing, windows. In the body, those are vitamins, minerals, proteins, essential nutrients. That's why eating quality, varied food isn't empty advice. It's how you make sure your body always has what it needs to repair itself. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you eat, you're not just feeding yourself, you're feeding an entire microscopic city. Around 100 trillion bacteria and fungi living in your gut, your microbiota. And when you feed them well, they transform what you eat into molecules that are incredibly powerful. Short-chain fatty acids, vitamins, and antioxidants. They also block harmful microbes from getting in, acting like a defense army. But the part that genuinely blew my mind, these substances don't stay in the gut. They travel to the rest of the body. And in recent years, we've discovered they even communicate directly with the brain, which means your microbiota can influence your mood, your memory, and your risk of psychological disorders. Happy microbiota, happy brain. That's not a metaphor. That's biology. Now, why does this matter for living longer? Because as we age, bacterial diversity in the gut starts to decline. But centenarians seem to have a secret. Their microbiota stays rich and diverse, far more than what we find in most people their age. A study published in Nature Aging found that bacteria from the Bacteroidetes genus appeared especially often in people who reached advanced ages. Another study showed lactobacillus helped centenarians produce antioxidants and reduce oxidative damage. And in supercentenarians, people over 110, bacteria from firmicutes and actinobacteria showed up more frequently. The research is still evolving, but the signal is clear. The bacteria living inside you might have more to do with how long you live than you ever imagined. So what do you actually eat to keep that bacterial ecosystem thriving? The Mediterranean diet is the most well-supported option in the science. Here's how it looks in practice. Fruit and vegetables every day. Good bacteria feed on fiber, and the more variety you eat, the more diverse your microbiota becomes. Legumes several times a week if you tolerate them. Whole grains over refined ones, brown rice, oats, quinoa, and buckwheat. Fish several times a week, ideally small oily fish like sardines, anchovies, and mackerel, high in omega-3, low in heavy metals. Limit red and processed meat. Keep salt under 5 grams a day. And alcohol, I hate to say it, but the evidence here is strong. Ideally, none at all. And if you want to give your microbiota an extra boost, add fermented foods that already contain beneficial bacteria, kefir, yogurt, and sauerkraut. Your gut will thank you. Eating well is a double investment. Quality materials for your body to rebuild itself, and fuel for millions of microorganisms working on your behalf. That's important. But if you spend the whole day sitting down, even a perfect diet isn't going to save you. Because a sedentary lifestyle is one of the most dangerous things you can do to your body as it ages. Physical activity is probably the most accessible change you can make, and simultaneously the one that prevents the most diseases. Not a hunch, dozens of studies confirm it. Walking around 10,000 steps a day is associated with a lower risk of dying from any cause, including cancer and cardiovascular disease. And when researchers looked at athletes specifically, a meta-analysis of 68 studies and over 165,000 people, they found that athletes generally live longer and have lower rates of cancer and heart disease than the general population. Now, there's one fascinating exception in that data. Athletes who did purely strength-based sports didn't seem to have the same advantage. Their risk profile looked more like the general population, which tells us something important about what kind of movement actually matters most. So, why is exercise so powerful against aging? What's actually happening inside the body? Let's start with bones. As we get older, they lose mass and density. They become fragile. That's why hip fractures are so common in elderly people. The bones simply can't handle the stress anymore. But when you exercise, you introduce mechanical stress that activates osteoblasts, the cells that build bone. It's like sending them a message, get to work. And they do. They reinforce the skeleton and slow down osteoporosis. Exercise equals stronger bones. Then there's fat. With age, adipose tissue shifts. Instead of staying under the skin, it starts accumulating around internal organs and inside muscle. That dramatically increases the risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, certain cancers, and hypertension. Exercise helps counteract that fat displacement and keeps your metabolism running the way it should. And then, muscles. With age, you lose both strength and mass. And this isn't just about looking fit, it's about independence. Being able to move, dress yourself, cook, get up off the floor, without depending on anyone. That matters enormously, not just physically, but psychologically. So what does the ideal exercise routine actually look like for healthy aging? According to one of the latest medical consensus guidelines, it comes down to 3 types of movement working together. 3 to 7 days a week of aerobic activity. Walking, running, swimming, dancing, cycling, whatever you genuinely enjoy. The goal is to work at 55 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. In plain terms, you're breathing faster, you feel your heart working, but you can still hold a conversation. 2 to 3 days a week of strength training to keep bones and muscles strong. Dumbbells, bodyweight squats, push-ups, resistance bands, anything that creates progressive resistance. The key word is progressive. Gradually increasing weight, reps, or sets based on what your body can handle. And whenever possible, add coordination and balance work. This is critical in later life for preventing falls and maintaining independence, but it's valuable at any age. Yoga, Tai Chi, standing on one foot, dancing, and racket sports, all of it counts. One thing I want to make clear though, don't obsess over finding the perfect exercise. The most important thing is consistency. And to be consistent, you have to actually enjoy what you're doing. Hate the gym? Lift weights at home while watching a show. Love walking? Walk. Do what sticks. Because any exercise, whatever it is infinitely better than nothing. Now, of all the habits we've covered, this last one might seem the most obvious. But it is genuinely one of the most underestimated things you can do for your lifespan. Sleep. Sleeping badly isn't just feeling groggy the next morning. In the long run, it literally takes years off your life. A study in The Lancet showed that sleeping less than 6 hours a night for 10 years can cut up to a year off your life expectancy. Not a metaphor, actual years. Why? Because sleep is not passive rest. It's an active biological process where your body repairs tissues, clears out waste, and consolidates everything you learned that day. While you feel like you're doing nothing, your body is working at full capacity. One type of cell is especially active during this process: glial cells. These cells feed and protect your neurons, and they also sweep out the metabolic waste that accumulates throughout the day. Think of it as a cleaning crew moving through your brain every single night. Without that process, waste builds up, connections weaken, and over time, the damage compounds. Beyond the brain, poor sleep raises the risk of diabetes, hypertension, and cardiovascular disease, which keep coming up in this video, and for good reason. They're the leading causes of death in the world right now. The problem is we're sleeping worse than ever. Studies show poor sleep quality is extremely common in adults and gets worse with age. Women appear to be especially affected, and more experts are saying the same thing. You cannot steal hours from sleep. The bill always comes due. So how do you actually sleep better? The single most impactful change for most people? Stop looking at screens before bed. I know, you've heard it before, but hear me out. The light from screens tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime. When that happens, it suppresses melatonin, the hormone that triggers sleep. Even if you do fall asleep after scrolling, the quality of that sleep is not the same. The brain doesn't go as deep. The cleaning crew doesn't finish the job. My recommendation? Screens off 1 hour before bed, replaced with something genuinely relaxing. Reading, an audiobook, a comic. A lot of people report sleeping dramatically better, just from this one change. Beyond that, the basics matter more than most people admit. Same bedtime and wake time every day? Yes, even weekends. No heavy meals right before sleeping, no caffeine in the afternoon. Avoid intense exercise late in the evening, and keep your room as dark and quiet as possible. So let's bring this together. Eating well feeds both your body and the trillions of microorganisms that work to keep you alive longer. Moving consistently protects your bones, your muscles, your metabolism, and your independence. And sleeping enough gives your brain the nightly reset it needs to function, recover, and protect itself against disease. 3 pillars, all backed by strong science. All things you can start applying today. And if this made you think differently about any of these habits, drop a comment and tell me which one surprised you most. I genuinely read them, and it helps more people find this content. But here's what I'll say before you go. Whenever someone makes a video about longevity, they cover these 3 things, because they're essential. But science has also shown that having a strong circle of friends, learning new things, and managing stress well can be just as powerful for extending your life. Almost nobody talks about those, and some of what the research shows is genuinely surprising. So stay close, because those habits are coming in the next video. And if you don't want to miss it, subscribe now. There's a lot more coming, and it only gets more interesting from here.